Yeah. Can you add your things now after we started?
Yeah.
Excellent. Do that. And we're live here. Yeah, 5:30. That would be great. Like if you're downtown, come by anytime. But if you're somewhere else, 5:30.
I'm
I don't
meeting
know.
with Nirma from Geneva beforehand, so
Oh, great. He may or may not be coming. So, or he said he'll have to leave early
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
because stuff going on potentially. So, but yeah, if you're around, great. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
And have you been able to add your accounts now?
You betcha. I've got 2 green check marks.
Great. I see we're live here and there. You got green check mark, so we're going. And I want to just make sure we're live where I think we're live. And I think we are. Just one more test. There we go. Yeah, I see us. All right, we're live.
Perfect.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we're just about to kick it off. Welcome back to Future Check, your weekly source for the latest in tech and innovation and business. And with me, as always, my co-host, John Irwin. How you doing today, John?
I'm doing great, Craig. I'm excited because I ordered my Rabbit R1 this week.
Yeah, every time I think about the Rabbit R1, I get really excited and I really want one. And then I got to take a step back and say, you know what? This is version 1 of the OS.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And, I don't know about you, but I'm in the Discord group, the Rabbit R1 Discord group that they have. So I'm watching it. Yeah, you can join it. And there's people talking about it all the time and it gets excited, but the features they have are very, very limited.
Okay.
Which is, it is what it is. I just look at it and it's like, I want version 3 of this. I don't want version 1. The reviews are not great. And I think that's because of limited functionality. So we have to realize you're getting into the hardware looks great, but the software is definitely what I would consider beta because it's like it's a phone, but they don't even have like a contacts app, for example.
The thing I'm worried about is that after I bought it, a few days later, they're like, "Oh, it's just a glorified Android app." So I'm a little worried. But hey, you know what? I bought it. I'll mess around with it. Who cares? We'll see.
Well, that's what I mean. I think it'll be fun, and I think, like I was saying to you, when they sold over 100,000 already, so. Once it gets in 100,000 early adopters' hands, and these are people, usually most of them are probably geeks who, are on the edge. And once they figure out, okay, this is how you get this to work, and this is how I hook this up to if this and that and Zapier and this and that, and here are all the scripts to make stuff happen. You're gonna see things explode.
Yeah,
but it's gonna be a geek's paradise versus any
for sure
normies.
If it can make my life easier by doing one mundane task, I'll be happy. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I'll be envious for a while because it looks great and I want one, but I know that it won't do. Like, I'd love to replace my iPhone with something like this, but then you realize you can't.
Oh, I'm not looking for it to replace anything.
No, I understand.
Augment, yeah.
I understand that, but then you're like, okay, now I got to carry around an extra device that has what? If I it only plays music on Spotify, so you can't actually have your own music. Yeah, well, you can't have your own music on it. You can't have another subscription. You can't have, you can order food through 2 services, and people are saying, well, you got to be careful because it automatically tips the maximum amount. It automatically does this. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that early adopters are going to be pained about, but it's got like 6 things or 7 things that it interfaces with, and that's it so far, which is why I think it's not for me, because I'll get it, look at it. It doesn't interface with any of the stuff I actually want. I don't order food. I don't use Spotify. I don't, I could use Spotify for podcasts and stuff because, our podcast is on there, but I don't use it to listen to music. Now actually I don't have a music subscription right now. I've gone back to loading all my old music on just to see what I need, because I switched to an audiobook subscription instead.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah, fun indeed. Let's get into it. We got a few people watching. I'd like to give us a few minutes before we get to give people a chance to connect here.
Yeah.
Hydrogen powered train sets world record with 1,700 miles on one hydrogen tank. Now, the first question is, you say on one hydrogen tank, is this like a propane sized tank that you can stick in a car? Or is this like a huge tank? Like, we're talking about trains, that's a big variable.
Yeah. So all I know is that it's 700 to 800 bar pressure tanks. Let me look in my notes about the size. I don't know. I think it's a regular.
I'll find it.
Yeah, find it. So I'll talk about it as you find it. But so this is cool. Again, my favorite topic for future tech, green technology, or if you're using green hydrogen, better than EVs, 100% in my opinion. But so Stadler's Flirt H2 fuel cell train has set a new world record, traveling over 1,700 miles nonstop on one tank of hydrogen, which is a major feat because it demonstrates the progress of hydrogen fuel cell efficiency and storage for rail transport. So it uses a hybrid drivetrain with hydrogen fuel cells, generating electricity to charge onboard batteries, which then power electric motors. So that's one thing to note. So there's some key innovations here. There's a highly compressed hydrogen storage to carry more fuel. It's, I think, likely 700 to 800 bar pressure tanks. The onboard hydrogen storage technology is a lightweight carbon fiber tank, and it can store 3 times the hydrogen versus the 350 bar design. So that's huge, which helps to extend the range tremendously. The other thing is the increased output and durability of the fuel cell system for continuous operation around 1 to 1.5 megawatts total. Now, the thing about this is the fuel cell system efficiency is crucial. So there's likely 25 to 35% efficiency to achieve this range using a proton exchange membrane fuel cell, which is higher than previous prototypes, obviously, because they've broken the world record. So capacity and passenger experience are still excellent, apparently, despite the powertrain. The H2 can seat 160 people and reach speeds up to 140 kilometers per hour while remaining silent and emission-free. So it's not a hydrogen engine. It's using hydrogen to power electric batteries that power the electric motor. Something to note, which is a smart way to do things, because I don't think they have an engine that is the size that can power a locomotive. I could be wrong. So there's tons of things coming into play here. There's sophisticated control systems, and an innovative drivetrain, a whole bunch of things.
This is really cool. I'm looking around. I couldn't find which one it is. It says here that features 12 fuel cells at 100 kilowatt each on their fuel cell capacity, but I haven't seen anything on what one tank it means. So I don't know what that means yet. I've looked on a few things here, but I've seen that we have other trains similarly reaching 286 miles per or 286 miles or 460 kilometers before refueling. Yeah. But this one, it has, really stepped it up. That on one tank, it went for 46 hours. That sounds incredible.
That does, yeah. So again, for Canadian people, and everywhere else in the world, that's over 2,800 kilometers of range on a single tank of hydrogen. Now, again, just to put into perspective, or just a note here, is it's not using a hydrogen engine. The hydrogen fuel cells are being used to recharge the batteries, which are being used to drive a electric powertrain. That's where it's coming in. So it's a hybrid using hydrogen fuel cells. Hey, again, there's no huge, at least I don't know of, engine that's large enough, a hydrogen engine that's large enough to handle a train. So this makes sense to me.
Yeah, the report doesn't say whether green hydrogen was used, but I'm not really worried about that at this particular point, because it's just testing. This looks great. It says that Stadler's been doing this for a while. They were the person who's, were setting the world records before, and they broke their own record. They have revealed that 2 Italian operators have signed up to for contracts of 15 hydrogen powered trains between them. So it looks like they're off to the races, and that we're gonna see these at least in Italy soon.
Absolutely. And that's where it makes the most sense, is in Europe, because they have one of the best train networks, and obviously in Asia too, they have a great train network. But I feel like the Asian market is more on speed, like, because they have the bullet train, they have all that, the maglev train, they have all that sort of stuff. But who knows? This could easily be used. Again, the speed is not the best, but this could easily be used to replace any powertrain for any train, essentially, except for those high-speed trains, essentially.
Yeah, and like you said, it's hydrogen feeds the fuel cells, which feeds electricity to the onboard battery, which drives the electric drive. And it says here that there's 2 motor-driven cars with the hydrogen tank and fuel cells in between. So this is really cool that we're talking about. Has anybody taken a GO train recently? And you smell the fumes and the diesel coming off it it'd be great for this to be, climate neutral.
Yeah. And this is where this is where I see the biggest impact on hydrogen. For example, I know that there is a U.S. carrier, part of the Navy, I think. Maybe this is a conspiracy thing, but I think they have one that a ship that runs on hydrogen, which never needs to dock except for fuel or except for food and things like that, and supplies. So, like, when we're talking transportation, we're talking transport trucks, trains, planes, and boats. I think that's where especially boats, if they can use seawater to fuel the boats, then they don't need to refuel ever.
Yeah, and they were saying they had 80 kilometers per charge before, and with the introduction, because these were talking about electric trains, and with the introduction of the hydrogen and the fuel cells, you were able to get to that, which is amazing. I'm hoping that we're going to see, have they talked about how quickly we're going to be able to see these? Can these trains compete at how much they can haul with diesel trains?
I didn't see there, but no. But I do know, as far as versus, so if we're talking hydrogen fuel cell systems versus other alternative energy sources, where we're talking a comparison, right? So the battery EVs, 80 to 90% efficiency, hydrogen and fuel cell vehicles, 35 to 55% efficiency, and then gasoline diesel, only 15 to 30% efficiency. But here's the thing: when we're using fuel cells, we can achieve a higher efficiency. So electrolysis from renewables, you get 60 to 80% efficiency. Natural gas reformation is 60 to 85%, and biomass gasification is 60 to 65%. So each process to generate hydrogen obviously introduces efficiency losses before end use, but it's much more efficient than diesel. Absolutely.
Yeah, and obviously we're talking about, with us, future technology. We want to reach carbon neutral. We want as many sustainable fuel sources as possible for these types of things, and hydrogen looks like the future for a lot of things. This train looks great. Like, we can see, if you're watching, you can see the video where you're watching the train, and this is the middle train is the middle part is where the hydrogen tank is, so that gives us at least an idea of the size. with the two things on the end. This looks great, and this was tested in ideal circumstances, not
obviously,
so are we going to see this adoption? We see obviously they're ordering them for Italy, but are we going to see, do we know where they're coming to North America? Are we going to see more adoption of these? Is there competitors?
I don't. Yeah. I didn't do a deep dive into that, but yes, I think that. So here's the thing, right? Is hydrogen technology for transportation use and storage and all that stuff is still in its infancy. So I feel like we could, in the next 2 to 3 years, double that range. If we just by advancements in storage and storage and efficiency of the use of the hydrogen. So creating it, storing it, and then using it. I think honestly, I think we'll see these trains obviously in Italy in the next 2-3 years. In North America, maybe 5.
Like, we love hydrogen, obviously, as long as we can keep it
green,
safe.
Yeah. So this is the thing, though, too, is a tank of gasoline can still explode. A tank of propane can explode. That's the thing, though, too, is the storage of hydrogen, right? So once we achieve storage of hydrogen at high pressure at normal temperatures, not super cold temperatures, that's when I think we'll see a mass adoption, I think. Which we're close to, because we've covered a couple different ones, or at least I've written about them on my LinkedIn.
Yeah, and this is great because one of the things I'm always complaining about is we live in Canada and it's winter up here all the time. So this was tested at a route between Berlin and Warnemünde, running during a freezing local winter. With an operational per charge range of 80 kilometers way back when, before they introduced the fuel cells. That was just when it was electric. So it's great that it'll work. It's only emitting steam and water, not anything else. You say these other things explode. Yes, but it takes a spark or flame to cause gasoline to explode. It just takes air to cause hydrogen to explode.
True. Yeah.
So it's just like, you don't have to add a accelerator.
I know. But EVs can explode too with just a puncture.
Yeah, and did you hear they're cracking down on Metrolinx on e-bikes on the trains?
No,
because they had, from what I understand, one fire, maybe more, but one fire. And there's only they're calling the dealers to find out what levels of batteries are on these things, because only certain approved models will be allowed on the
train. I'm guessing the cheaper models are the ones that are more susceptible. But the thing with batteries is the only problem is with the type of battery that they're using. The lithium-ion battery is so volatile. So as long as they can come up with a different, like a salt water battery or a solid state battery, then we eliminate those problems, right? But the problem is with EVs still is that we still have to mine rare earth minerals and mine the earth, and it's very dirty to produce those batteries.
Absolutely. And long term, our power grid's not sustainable for this kind of stuff unless we move to a better nuclear solution or something. And so, it's funny.
Reactors.
I don't know if we talked about this last time or I was talking to someone else about this recently, but I said California, in the same day they announced we're moving, they set their 25%, all EVs purchased by 2025 will be or 25% of them will be EVs. All cars in California moving to, I think by 2030, 100%. And that's great. The same day they announced that, they said, "Oh, don't charge your EVs tonight. We don't have enough power, rolling blackouts." And it's like, you're not seeing that maybe there's something great. Everyone, who wants an EV can go get one.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting, but mandating them when your power grid can't handle it and there's not charging places. And, we're hearing during the eclipse, people were getting, they drive somewhere to watch it, and then they'd be 6-hour wait to charge their car line to get. So this is where the infrastructure is not there for it. That's all we're saying. And so it's great when we have a small percentage because it's awesome. But as soon as it starts building up, it is going to become problematic on the grid, which is why. And when you're on the grid or when you're charging up the grid, you're only as green as that grid is.
Yeah, I think I was reading an article somewhere where there was a state or somewhere where they didn't like the fact that people were getting negative power bills because of the solar panels that they were using and they were putting back on the grid. But like that's what we need people to provide. We need to redesign the grid, but like that's crazy.
Well, the grid needs to be redesigned, and because there's all sorts of problems because it's not designed for that, and so people aren't a lot of hydro companies aren't allowing that anymore. People, this is somewhat controversy, but it's been proven. The Maui fires. A lot of that was because of stuff like this, where generators and whatnot were kicked on for emergency power, and it started feeding back to the grid where these things were shut off and sparked all these fires. So, there's no, the main power was shut off, but because these other things kicked on and started feeding locally and causing these issues, the grid can't be controlled the way we want it to. But it's just driving that we need to improve the grid. We need to improve the flow on either side. And if we're going,
we need backyard reactors. Well, here's the other thing too is what this would be great for. Hydrogen would be great for if they can get the storage right is generators. And so like you could essentially use the grid to power to charge up your fuel cells and then go off grid kind of thing. So there would alleviate that. But again, there's so many opportunities here. But you were talking about the infrastructure for charging. The infrastructure for hydrogen, we've talked about this before, is pretty much non-existent. If you look for hydrogen, I think they've even taken some away as well. So, but
there seemed to be starting some I saw some pipeline and hydrogen information, so we'll be covering some of that in the near future. We'll be throwing. I noticed you put a bunch more links in there to look at. I was talking about at some point that we should all be having the high end solar tiles. When I say high end, whatever latest technology is now in 20, 30 years, that we shouldn't be putting normal tiles on a roof. We should be putting these solar things. We should have proper control between the grid and our home, whatever that means, because I'm not an expert. But these types of things should be filling up our hydrogen. If any excess power can be used to fuel our hydrogen cells, fill up our cars, that kind of stuff. And if you're talking about having hydrogen generators, because natural gas generators are the default for homes these days from a power backup point of view, hydrogen would be great. You just have these things that make sure it's full, and then when it does go off, it just kicks in. Or when you need that extra power that you don't have, it could kick in depending and refill. So that kind of future is interesting, but we'll have to wait and see. If we get there,
for sure.
Is that a future we want? I mean, it sounds cool, but when you start thinking about what that looks like outside, there's no green space anymore.
Yeah, and speaking of adoption, I just came across an article that says Europe would need to tax steelmakers 500 pounds per ton of CO2 to drive the switch to green hydrogen. That comes from an analyst. So there's a lot of hurdles. So
but did they talk about what it's going to take to drive the switch to all EV?
No.
In the same breath, did you want me to share this link?
You can. I haven't read it, so I just read the headline. That's all.
You're seeing it. I just wanted to make sure. Calculates that imports of direct reduced iron to Germany from Australia or Oman would be cheaper than domestic production.
Yeah. So really interesting.
We'd have to.
I'll read through it after, but
Perfect. Let me just remove this for a second. We love hydrogen. We love hydrogen. We love you. When what you talked about infrastructure, and I think that is the key. We see hydrogen. We talked about hydrogen cars, but there's only a few places to fill up. We're talking about hydrogen to power other things. Then we start taking like trains and whatnot. What kind of infrastructure needs to be in place to get hydrogen wherever it's going and to create it?
So obviously we need pipelines like we do for oil. We need storage. We need a better transportation, and not just pipelines, but a way to transport hydrogen as well. And in order to do that, we need the governments to get behind this. So there needs to be government incentives. There needs to be policies. Maybe I should become a hydrogen lobbyist, but there needs to be strategic partnerships. There needs to and here's the thing is you could probably leverage existing natural gas pipelines and storage facilities to distribute hydrogen. So retrofit for hydrogen compatibility, which is interesting. So that's something that we could do. Obviously, we need fast tracking permits and certifications, accelerate approval of projects. There's a lot that needs to be in place in order for us to have a proper infrastructure. And actually, there was an article that I was just reading. This is specifically for Canada, though. But was it Shell or was it another company that was selling off 200 gas stations, I think? If someone, I wish I had the money, buy up those gas stations, and there's a great infrastructure potentially there, at least a minimum. But I don't think we're there yet. That's the thing, right? So I don't think we're there yet where the infrastructure needs to be developed that quickly or implemented that quickly. But we need a plan in place.
So when you say there's your infrastructure there, I mean, there's real estate there. I mean, those tanks that have to replace, everything have to be replaced. There's not really an infrastructure.
Well, there's real estate. You're right. Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's great. And when you say we don't need it right now, I would disagree with you. Like, wave my magic wand, I don't need it today. No, but if we're not budgeting and spending the money and start moving towards it today, in 25 years, we're going to be severely behind because we'll have all these things and yet no one will have the infrastructure. No one you have to start.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Yeah. We need a plan in place. We need solid milestones or something in place in order for this to move forward, really. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to this next one, talking about nanowires and how they're changing electronics. I gotta say that when we talk about lattice mismatch issues, I'm like, ugh, my eyes start to roll because we're like getting down to such a nano level that I wonder. So anyway, let's just step back and say researchers overcome lattice mismatch issues to advance optoelectronic applications. What does this actually mean?
Yeah, so in just to kind of put it into layman's terms, researchers have developed a new way to build very tiny semiconductor structures called nanowires that are important for making new electronic and optical devices. And the nanowires are normally hard to make with different materials because the materials don't naturally fit well together at the tiny nanoscale. And talking nanoscale, I know we're getting into more of the quantum physics stuff, but we won't really touch on quantum too much. So what they've done is they've discovered that by choosing certain amorphous materials that have no crystal structure, they could grow these materials as a coating on the nanowires in a way that naturally fits together without gaps or stress between. So specifically what they did is they coated semiconductor nanowires made of materials like gallium arsenide or indium gallium arsenide with layers of amorphous halogenides with germanium sulfide or germanium selenide. What happened was their technique allowed the control over the thickness and quality of these coatings, which found that with different combinations of core nanowires and coating materials could produce structures with electromagnetic properties tuned for specific uses. So while they were testing these new core shell nanowire structures, it showed that there was an enhanced performance for photon detection and imaging compared to existing technologies. So properties like how strongly and how quickly they respond to light, that also could be modified. So the thing is they've overcome, apparently, a long-standing barrier, and which opens up new possibilities for engineering optical and electronic behaviors at the ultra small nanoscale through picking different material combinations, which could enable new kinds of sensitive, flexible sensors and other devices, which is really cool. So the thing is originally, and we're talking about growing nanowires from different materials, what happened was it caused strain issues as the natural crystal arrangements didn't match up well. So that was the original issue. So it limited what could be built. So huge, apparently, advancement. Oh, you might be on mute.
I'm muted. Sorry, I noticed that. It's like, let me be the layman here, because I'm like, all right, that is great. But, this, I'm read this. The successful achievement of effective lattice mismatch-free construction in the core shell heterostructure introduces unconventional.
Oh. Is it me or?
I just rebooted our router. Hopefully it'll come back up.
Okay. So sorry guys, a little bit of a technical difficulty. So let me just talk through this. Why should you care about this mark, right? So the thing is it overcame a major roadblock that has limited nanophotonic and nanoelectronic development for years by resolving lattice mismatch issues. The approach provides an unprecedented design freedom to combine materials for unique optical and electronic device properties that were not possible before, which would open up an entirely new application space by enabling performance and functionalities that were previously inaccessible. Sectors like healthcare, environmental monitoring, energy, computing, and more could benefit from next-gen nanoscale sensors, emitters, and other optoelectronic components. So from a scientific perspective, it advances our fundamental understanding of light-matter interactions at the smallest scales. The work also demonstrates how clever materials engineering approaches can overcome challenges in nanotechnology. And these are the breakthroughs that we need for us to continue to advance. So the cool thing about this research is it provides a model for resolving other roadblocks down to the interface level that could inspire, again, new leaps. So, but there are specific challenges. And again, why should you care about this? So let me give you some real world examples. LED OLED displays using carbon nanotubes to enable flexible LED screens, photovoltaics using nanowires and dots to boost solar efficiency, and fiber optics. You could have nanoparticles to guide light and fiber for telecoms. And we talked about a world record speed using fiber transmission. This is an advancement that could that could enable that in the real world. Again, medical devices. So nanorods that target cancer cells under infrared irradiation. And then if we're talking about electronics, so computer chips. So This could help us to overcome Moore's law. Nanowires connect next-gen transistors for faster speeds. With memory of quantum dots, sorry for the quantum, enabling higher density data storage. Then you have sensors. So you have carbon nanotubes, nanoparticles that amplify biochemical signals. And then with displays as well, nanowires could enable screens that bend, but yet retain clarity. Because right now they bend and it's crazy. So there's a lot here to unpack. And we're just at the precipice of this. We're at the cusp. But this is going to enable a lot of future development when it comes to electronics, optical things, and things like that. Now, the last thing to kind of touch on for this is to give you some more background on the specific challenges of the lattice mismatch problem at the nanoscale and how this addressed this issue. So at the nanoscale size of core shell nanowires, even small differences in the natural crystal lattices spacing of each material, that causes a huge problem, like just a tiny difference. The results in large interface strains as the two materials are forced to merge their crystal arrangement. So the thing with these strains is they can cause defects like dislocations that degrade material quality and carrier transport properties. Now, to relieve the strain, conventional approaches use very thin crystalline shells or near matching materials, but this highly limits combinations. So the researchers exploited a form of a disordered glass-like network structure when deposited. And this network structure is inherently flexible and conforms to the core material without the crystalline mismatches, which allows compositional control while maintaining an interface-free, lattice-matched interface between core and shell, which resolves the long-standing barrier of integrating different semiconductors for functional core shell nanowires heterostructures. So great, awesome advancement. Super excited for this. And without Craig here, I'm just going to move on to the next article, just given the time that we have. So this is interesting. This next article is interesting and scary at the same time. We're talking about essentially evolution and mutation kind of thing. So just to give you some background, in humans and other mammals, sex is determined by a male-specific gene called SRY. It's located on the Y chromosome. The Y chromosome has been deteriorating over many generations, having lost around 900 genes over the last, and again, it's a long time, 900 genes over 166 million years. So at the current rate of gene loss, it's estimated that the Y chromosome will completely disappear, again, in approximately 11 million years. So not in our lifetime, but it does pose an existential threat, as without Y and SRY gene, humans could become extinct. Again, 11 million years though. However, this article does find, the article that we're talking about from sciencealert.com, does find reason for hope by looking at two lineages of rodents that have already lost their Y chromosomes. And interestingly, both have survived without a Y. So researchers studying the spiny rat discovered it evolved a new gene to determine sex. Rather than SRY, it's a small duplication near the SOX9 gene on chromosome 3, which seems to have taken over this role. So hopefully so when introduced into mice, the duplication was found to boost SOX9 activity, similarly to SRY normally functions, how it normally functions. This shows evolution can develop alternative sex determination systems when the original breaks down. So while the vanishing Y chromosome leaves open questions about human sexuality millions of years from now, the rodent examples demonstrate evolution has solutions. As with our cousins, humans may evolve a substitute gene to guarantee reproductive success long term. So, are you back, Craig?
Oh yeah, I'm back. Sorry, we went down and I had to reboot the router. And
yeah, no worries. Welcome back. So I'll just bring you up to speed. So we talked about.
Yeah, I'm on. I'm up to speed. I've been listening for a bit. So we're on this Y chromosome crap. I got that. So you could tell my thoughts on this because, okay, you believe that we evolve or you believe that we don't evolve. It's one of those things. But I believe that we do evolve. We change over time. And then, that we losing some of these traits of these chromosomes is, I feel, part of natural evolution.
Yeah, I agree.
Because maybe I don't need a spiky tail anymore. I don't need, the DNA coding for venom anymore or whatever that's in our DNA for how many years, billions and billions. And we start shedding these things because we haven't needed them for how long.
Yeah.
And so what does it mean? Are we actually losing the Y chromosome? Okay, let's take a step back because I'm going to talk about some other articles that I pulled up.
Okay.
But what are they saying? Okay, what are we replacing the Y chromosome with? What's this new sex chromosome?
So that's only in mice. So in two specific mice. So apparently the SOX9 expression is enhanced independently of SRY. So SOX9 is already there, but it seems like, and just based on what I've read, is it's kind of taking over for SRY, which I don't fully understand. Again, not an expert in this field. I just thought it was interesting as far as speaking of evolution, and apologies to those who don't believe in evolution, but this just kind of shows you that there is evolution happening.
Yeah, and I mean, you can believe in evolution without believing in Darwinism or creationism or whatever. The fact that as species evolve for all sorts of reasons, the poor Y chromosome is at a disadvantage. Because I guess doesn't have as much because this is a dangerous place to be because cells must divide many times to make sperm, so mutations are much more frequent. So it has to do with making sperm and our cell division process for that.
Based on that, are we going to get into the situation? What was that? The movie about there was only like someone had a baby and it was like the first baby in how many years, and son of something or
Child of Man.
Yeah,
that was a pretty good movie actually. Maybe, but we have a society that would even challenge the notion of an XY person versus an XX chromosome. So let's leave that aside for now, because we're talking about animals and whatever, and say, okay, these chromosomes exist and this is what's happening. But is this meaning that we're moving to an androgynous society, or is it meaning that each side of these equations, did anybody sit back and say, okay, what's happening to the X chromosomes?
So here's the thing though, right? Is we're just one mammal in a world of mammals, right? So just a quick thing. As of right now, today, the 55 remaining Y genes include the SRY trigger, but the Y also contains vast stretches of repetitive junk DNA, which again, they're calling it junk DNA because they don't know what the function of it is. But the thing is there's other mammals like platypuses, birds, that use a completely different sex determination system, which shows more diversity, and maybe that's where we're headed. I don't know what that diversity sex determination system is, but the article just states that, there's other mammals that use different sex determination systems, unlike ours. I know birds have been around much longer than humans, so.
Yeah, so, all right. What does this article say about the hope for man and the Y chromosome?
So the thing is what it means is the Y chromosome, which is what helps make men, is slowly disappearing, which could spell trouble since we need boys and men to make babies. Without the Y, babies might only be girls. So, but some kinds of rats also lost their Y chromosome, which we talked about, and they figured out a solution. So that extra code took over the job of the missing Y chromosome and still let the rats have males. And the way it worked in the rats was it worked by boosting another gene, which is the SOX9. So this shows that even if the Y chromosome disappears in humans too far in the future, and who knows if we're still going to be on this planet or alive in 11 million years. I don't know how much longer our sun has left, but our bodies may evolve a backup plan, which could grow a new gene just like the rats did, so that we still have males. Now, other implications, I don't know if the other implications could be in that. So the thing is we have millions of years of evolution before this becomes a problem. But it's interesting that they've been able to identify this now, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it says in the article here that there may be, and again, I always question when there's things like maybe a link between the Y chromosome and cancer and Alzheimer's and cardiovascular disease. So I don't know. I mean,
there's a link between anything and cancer and anything and
yeah, that's why when they say may, it's like, okay, it's I don't believe. Yeah, there's not enough stuff there. It doesn't say study suggest. It doesn't say. It just says may. It's like, I know the sky tomorrow may be orange. It may be.
It may be.
Well, probably not. But it notes that 4.5 million years is a long time. Since we've recognized that humans are around for less than 100,000. So I guess it's going to take that long for this evolution to potentially happen.
I think so. Yeah. So it's going to take a long time, and it's likely there's a good chance that this isn't going to be a problem because we'll come up with a backup plan.
Ourselves. Yeah. Well, this says additionally, there are numerous potential scenarios which our species likely to face extinction long before then. So don't worry about it. We're going to be dead way before then. So don't worry about it.
Ourselves. Maybe World War III, nuclear war happens, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, this world, if we don't kill ourselves by polluting, we're going to kill ourselves by nuking each other, which is polluting, or we're going to, find a way. There's way too much hatred in this world. I wish it wasn't the case. But it is unfortunate. So let's just share a couple articles here, and then we'll rumors of male chromosome demise greatly exaggerate, study finds. Mind you, these are a few years old versus the more recent ones we're talking about were this year or last year. The next one talks about this study dispels theories of Y chromosomes demise. I get 2014, so not as old, but our study demonstrates that
10 years ago, though.
I know it's not as old, but I'm just saying there are different studies out there.
Yeah, there are.
I mean, these usually come in waves, right? The one will say, yeah, it's happening. And someone will say, yeah, we're tested this and we don't think it's happening. So we got the latest round of it's happening. So I'm guessing in a year or so, we're going to get another round of, hey, wait a minute, it's not happening. Yeah. But our study demonstrates genes have been maintained, and those that migrated from X to Y are important, and the human Y is going to stick around for a long while. What does that mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it means that we still have 11 million years.
Yeah. So if that's a long while, great. But it's been interesting just to go through some of this stuff and see, is it really ending us, or is it just as we evolve a little bit more that we're shedding things that we don't need anymore?
Potentially, or is this a mutation because of our environment? Who knows? I know they don't talk about that, but could this be because of pollution? Could this be because of different things? I don't think so, but
all the chemicals in our food. You know, what is Alex Jones?
PFAs.
say about the chemicals in the water and what they do to frogs. So
yeah.
I've seen a bunch of Alex's. Yeah, he does these rants. But yeah, there's things happening, that we're the fluoride in the water and all this stuff people will tell you is doing all sorts of stuff that whether it is or not, we're putting all this stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of hydrogen, just quickly, I purchased I don't know if you can see it. I purchased a hydrogen generating for water. It's supposed to be better water. I don't know what that means, but it tastes different. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is
You're gonna get. I know what you're gonna do now. Go ahead.
This is a controversy. So you say you know what I'm gonna do. So let me just remove this. Before we get into that, any last words on the demise of the Y chromosome?
No, we pretty much covered it, and we've gone into detail. There isn't much more yet. It's 11 million years away, so don't be too worried.
So, hydrogenated water. What's going on with your $100 water bottle?
Yeah, so it's
show us. Let's see what you got.
So it's said to increase energy, reduce inflammation, reduce recovery times after a workout. The thing is hydrogen water is regular water with just hydrogen gas added. So I've got at the bottom of the bottle, it's a bottle that just creates hydrogen once you add the water. So I haven't really tested it out yet, just because I still use my hard water tap with a filter on it. So I'm gonna have to start buying bottled water to put it in there because I don't want to wreck it. But apparently it helps with a bunch of things. I still haven't done a deep dive into it, but I do know I have tested it and tasted it. It tastes completely different, just than any other water that you'll drink.
Okay.
So
I think anytime you,
and it could be a gimmick.
Anytime you add, like, if you just take black coffee and put a little throw it through a blender, it gets infused a little bit with more oxygen. It's going to taste a little bit different.
Yeah.
You put a little butter or oil or whatever and throw it in the blender. Now it's a completely different tasting drink. So that happens. I just so let me just share the screen instead. So there's studies. Let me put this back. That talk about this, and this is one of them. Let me actually go back. This is hydrogen water, extra healthy or hoax, a systematic review from the National Library of Medicine. And let's jump down to the bottom. Yeah, I've jumped down to the conclusion. I thought there'd be an executive summary, but there isn't. Increased interest and continuous study are being directed towards public. So they've done this whole study, and this is their conclusion. The possible health advantages of hydrogen-rich water in a variety of areas, including physical endurance, exercise capacity, cardiovascular disease, liver function, COVID-19, mental health, anti-aging research, and oxidative stress. These potential consequences have aroused a debate in the scientific and medical industries. Even though there's great potential in understanding the benefits of hydrogen-rich water, we still have to overcome the existing limitations. We need well-designed studies in humans with large sample sizes and long-term trials to ascertain benefits. So they're saying, yeah, we don't know.
Yeah. So whatever, maybe I'm early on the bandwagon and there'll be some benefits, or it's just a hoax and I've wasted some money.
Yeah, absolutely. My sister and my mother swear by these things, and I'm like, okay, come back to me in a month or two. Oh, I feel better. I got more energy. How much of that is a placebo effect? Or you're thinking that, or literally you're drinking more water because you bought this $100 water bottle that infuses hydrogen in it.
That's one of the reasons why I don't use it, is because the capacity is so small. Like, I drink a lot of water throughout the day, so I'd have to be using this 10 times a day and then filling up another container with the hydrogen water. So it's with my ADHD, Craig, with the hurdles and stuff. It's just, So, hey, don't discount the placebo effect.
I won't. Well, I mean, but I could just drink more water and say, I'm super hydrating. So I guess I don't know. I'm waiting to talk to a few people who have used it over a longer period of time to see whether the hydrogenated water is a thing or not. So, all right. What do you got going on, John?
Oh, tonight, if for those listening, we've got Startup Drinks TO. We've got a whole bunch of tickets sold. It's going to be a great event. 9 hours, 3 minutes, and 5 seconds. Ticket prices are cheap for what you get. $25 gets you unlimited food, unlimited drink, but again, under liquor laws. And this is the coolest part: is you can pitch, which includes in your ticket, which I love. So you can go up, you can pitch yourself, you can pitch an idea, you can pitch your company, whatever, and you get to listen to other people's pitches. We got investors, we've got startups, we've got Big Four people, we've got everyone that shows up to this.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great event, and that's tonight. So we do that every month. There'll be another one May 30th, because if you're listening to this on the podcast, you'll be missing this too late. You've got another event happening.
Yeah, this isn't tech related, but this is a wellness thing, which I swear by, honestly. So this, if you're interested in cold plunging, or you've done it before and you love it, this is a great event. It happens in the morning for those that are early risers. It's put on by Unbounded. Tickets have been reduced by 10%, so you get a decent price. So you do breathwork, cold plunge. They have saunas, mindfulness, yoga. It's a phenomenal experience. I highly recommend it. It's outside in the morning at Trillium Park on May 26th.
So what exactly is a cold plunge?
So it's this tub that's filled with ice, but these have actual chillers on the outside, so they're professional ones. But you just plunge in very, very cold water, and honestly, the feeling that you get throughout the whole day is just phenomenal. There are studies that have shown this. There's this cold protein that gets activated when you do cold plunging.
Yeah, and you can activate that by actually hitting the base of your spine, neck where the meets, with cold water on the shower for about 10 minutes a day, according to Tim Ferriss. But I've done the polar bear plunge or polar bear dip in January. It was friggin' cold. And when I did the Tough Mudder, they made us jump in a trailer truck full of ice and water that you had to dunk and swim under and do all this stuff. Yeah, it's I'm just curious as to, I wouldn't want to be outside after usually.
Well, there's a sauna right beside, so you can hop in the sauna right after.
It sounds fun. It's definitely invigorating, and everyone should try it at least once just to figure out if it's for them.
Yeah. And
so you help people get funding.
Yeah. So I alleviate usually about 80. So yeah, the expertise I come is in tax credits and grants. Even if you're a startup, ideally you want some salaries, but if you're a startup and you want some direction on how to get some non-dilutive funding, reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Great. Yeah. John Irwin on LinkedIn. I found there's a second John Irwin now popping up in my LinkedIn stuff. So you're going to have to, like, brand new for me. So might have to do something else from a.
Can you send me the link to his profile?
I will after when I see it.
I'll send him a cease and desist.
Yeah. Check out TorontoStarts.com for everything we do. You'll see our podcast episodes for this, our other workshops, our coaching, startup investor drinks. Check out everything there. If you're stuck in your business and are trying to figure out why clients aren't buying or what you need to do to move forward, go to TorontoStarts.com, go to startupcoach.ca, click on Startup the Coach, book a discovery call. Let's have a call and see how we can move you forward.
For sure.
All right, buddy. We'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, see you tonight. Bye.